To everyone reading this, thank you for giving me your time and letting me share a piece of my life you'll never forget. Your attention means more than you know, because what follows is raw, unfiltered, and painfully real. The moment she said it, my blood ran cold. I dreamed you disappeared from here, she whispered from the bedroom doorway, her voice trembling in a way that made me doubt whether she was scared or relieved. I paused mid-step, coffee in hand, trying to anchor myself to something familiar, but the room suddenly felt alien. I looked at her, searching for a hint of humor or a mistake in my hearing. There was none. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, impossible to read. Wish granted, I muttered, almost on reflex, my voice sharper than intended. I left the house that day without looking back, not because I wanted to disappear, but because the seed of doubt she had planted was already growing. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I didn't even return to the house. I wandered streets I barely knew, tracing a city that suddenly seemed full of betrayal at every corner. It started subtly. Little things that made me hesitate, that made my mind spin in loops I didn't want to take. The missed calls she pretended she didn't see. The faint perfume I didn't recognize, lingering on her clothes. I caught glimpses of a smile in photographs she said were innocent, a laugh that didn't belong to our memories. My rational side screamed denial. My heart begged for reassurance, but the more I tried to ignore it, the more I noticed. Weeks later, I stumbled upon an unopened letter tucked behind our shared bookshelf, something she must have hidden with precision. The handwriting wasn't hers, though the envelope was addressed to her. My hands shook as I unfolded it. The words were small, careful, calculated. It was a note from someone she met at work. Someone she had introduced to our life like a friend, but in truth, they had already been threading themselves into her heart, step by deliberate step. When I confronted her, she laughed. Not a soft laugh, not nervous. It was light, flippant, like my words were an inconvenient interruption to her carefully curated story. You always think in extremes, she said. Maybe I just enjoy attention. Maybe I just needed someone who listens. I felt the room spin around me, walls closing in as if the air itself was betraying me. I didn't leave that night. I couldn't. I stayed in the silence that came after, imagining every word, every gesture I had misread. I replayed dinners, arguments, quiet moments on the couch. Each memory turned brittle, sharp-edged, like frost-cracking glass. My trust had once been a sturdy fortress. Now it was sand slipping through my fingers. The slow unveiling continued. Phone screens I shouldn't have seen, messages I shouldn't have read, they all painted the picture with unerring clarity. She spoke to someone in ways she had never spoken to me. Laughter in her texts that I hadn't heard, subtle complaints, unguarded desires. I hated that I was piecing it together from fragments, but the fragments didn't lie. Every day brought a new discovery, a new wound that refused to heal. And yet, part of me wanted her to be real, to explain it all away. I wanted the world to be simple, my marriage to be redeemable. But the evidence accumulated faster than hope could gather. I watched her through the tiny slits of my broken trust, each glance revealing more duplicity than the last. The final straw wasn't dramatic, at least not outwardly. It wasn't a fight, a scream, or a confrontation. It was a quiet morning, sunlight falling in lazy stripes across our bed. I found a note, hastily scribbled, tucked under her pillow. 3 simple words. I can't stay. I stared at it for hours. I traced the pen's movement with my eyes, memorized the pressure of her hand, and finally realized she had left me the way she left herself in so many moments before. Quietly, leaving only shadows behind. I didn't need confrontation anymore. The betrayal wasn't something to argue with. It was something to survive. I packed my things with care, savoring the finality. Every item I touched, every photograph I folded into my bag, was a ritual of reclaiming myself. I paused at the threshold one last time, inhaling the scent of a life that had been mine and watching it turn foreign. She appeared in the doorway, eyes wide again, but this time filled with something she hadn't felt before, surprise. I didn't expect you to leave, she said, her voice trembling, unsure whether it was accusation or disbelief. I always do what I say, I replied softly. No anger, no triumph, just a quiet determination. And now wish granted. As I walked away, the The city swallowed me up. I didn't look back. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the slow erosion of love and trust, they were all left behind like ashes in the wind. And yet, there was something liberating in the emptiness that followed. For the first time in months, I breathed freely. I thought about the life I had imagined, the shared dreams that now lay broken, and I realized they had been illusions. She had wanted a reflection, a companion, not a partner. And I wanted truth. Weeks turned into months. I rebuilt myself quietly, methodically. I learned to recognize the difference between love and habit, between loyalty and possession. Every memory that once haunted me now served as a reminder. Trust is earned, not assumed, and betrayal leaves a permanent imprint, whether you walk away or stay. She eventually moved on, of course, as she always had. And I didn't watch. I didn't care to. The freedom of leaving, of cutting ties cleanly, was a gift she had unknowingly given me the day she spoke of my disappearance. I carried the weight of her betrayal not as a burden, but as proof of my own resilience. Sometimes, when the night is quiet and the city hums beneath me, I think about saying her name, just to see if the old shadows will stir. But I don't. I smile instead, knowing that leaving wasn't a loss. It was survival, it was reclamation, it was finally being honest with myself. And in that honesty, I found peace.